right, first up this morning, taking the intimidation out of buying and drinking wine. Elizabeth Schneider wrote this book. It's wine for normal people, but not the snobbery that goes with it. That's right. Elizabeth joins us now, and she's got a very successful wine podcast with her husband and has a background in the wine industry, but she talks to you like you're just one of her friends, right, Elizabeth?
That's what I try to do.
Good morning to you. I think this is lovely because so many of us, I mean, we've gotten used to our $2 chucks and stuff like that when we just, we kind of want to put the snobbery aside and we want some wine, but we don't want to have to know everything about it. Have you found that's true? Is that where this came from?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's that, and also the fact that it's kind of sad that this is the only thing that I can think of. Wine is the only thing I can think of where you walk into a store or a restaurant and it seems like they don't want you to know about the product. You know what I'm saying? It's so bizarre. I mean, people are trying to get you to buy this product, and yet they're also trying to withhold information about it, which has always been for me the strangest thing, because I was in technology in Boston. I wasn't always in the wine industry. I got into the wine industry as a second act. And it was like, part of it was like, why are people being like this? Why are you hoarding information? So for me, I think the more you know about wine, the more you like it and the more exploration you can do. But it's very intimidating when you look at that wall of wine, you know?
I'm glad you used the word intimidating because I think that's how everyone feels, whether you're opening, a menu at a restaurant and you're trying to look like you know what you want or remember what you've liked in the past. So why do you think it's so important that this becomes accessible to everyone? Why is this part of your mission?
Well, it's an 8,000 plus year old beverage. It's been so much a part of culture over the course of our history. And it has been, if you look at all of the great writers and Greek philosophers, all these people have always noted that wine is really important. And I think that wine is also an agricultural product. It fits in so well with people's need to kind of reconnect with the land and sort of a healthy, more simple lifestyle. And I think that it's become so, it's really the people that buy the wine that have made it so snotty. The people that make the wine are not at all snotty. And there's so much to be learned about the world through your glass. I think that's so important and so fun too, right?
I agree. I love the fact that you made that chain of command make sense to us. It's the people who buy the wine that truly insert the snobbiness. So what do you think is the key to communicating about the wine industry to the average person like us?
Number one, it's farming. It really is. If you go to any winery that is not, probably Napa Valley is a little bit of an exception, but if you go to almost any local winery where they're not trying to put on airs, I mean, Sonoma or even in Wisconsin, there's wineries locally there too. You will see that the people who run wine are farmers. It is really agriculture. We think of it as something else. And so as soon as you start to make that switch, you understand that what is vintage? Vintage is just, how did the crop come out, right? Same as your farmer's market. Did the tomatoes look good that year, or was it kind of washed out and not good? So as soon as we start to switch our mindset, I think it becomes a lot more accessible. Get away from no offense to men, but it's usually men in dark rooms, talking about all this stuff. If you really start to learn about it, learn the vocabulary and learn about the world of wine, it becomes so much more accessible, right? It's fun.
I love it. And I think I think anybody who's been, here in Door County, we've got cherry wine places, and it's right. The conversations are so easy and they do want to teach you. And so I love this idea of the farmer and learning and looking at it that way. The thing I'm also fascinated about is you say there's mistakes in pairings. We think about this chocolate and wine, and you say that's an absolute mistake. Why?
Well, it's not an absolute mistake. It's an absolute mistake with dry wine.
Ah.
So if you're pairing, then you've got to have a sweet wine with a sweet dessert, because how many times have you gone out to dinner and you still have some Cabernet or some red wine left over, and have it with the chocolate and you're like, what am I missing? Like this doesn't taste great together, but I must not have a great palate, which is again, this whole construct that I think a lot of snobs in the wine industry want you to buy into, but you should trust what you taste because that doesn't taste good. You could do your own experiment, take a little bit of table sugar, put it on your finger, put it inside your mouth and then have it with wine. The sugar doesn't taste good. The wine doesn't taste good. However, if you try that same thing with port, for instance, which is a sweet wine, you are going to be able to have a really, really great pairing. So the wine should be as sweet as or sweeter than the dessert for a great pairing. But this idea that when we say chocolate, they were really, when they started that, talking about bittersweet chocolate. Not many among us like chocolate with no sugar in it. I know I don't. I don't know about
It's gross.
you. I mean, maybe
I've had it. It's disgusting.
I was hearing your mouse thing. Maybe I'm a mouse.
Yeah, it's pretty gross. I agree. We're out of time, but I just love this idea that it connects us on so many different levels. So many of us have connected over our Zooms with wine and all that as we can. So I want to make sure everybody's got the name of your book and all that. Thank you so much for joining us today, Elizabeth. That was wonderful.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Again, the book is called Wine for Normal People, and you can find her podcast on winefornormalpeople.com. Again, it's Elizabeth Schneider.